Thinking about sailing to the Med with your dog, but worried about paperwork, vaccines, customs, or just their comfort and safety on board? Well, we've done it, and so have a few other awesome crews who were willing to share their stories. In this episode, we'll cover pre-departure prep, including vet visits and vaccinations, onboard safety and comfort, including toilet training, arriving in the EU, including customs and vet visits when abroad, country-specific experiences from France, Spain, Portugal and Gibraltar, and additional insights and advice. But first, let's meet our furry experts who are going to be helping us today. First up, it's Reggie. Reggie is a 7-year-old Siberian Husky. He loves playing with his toys, he loves chicken, he loves sausage, but Reggie is nervous around new people and he does not like motorbikes. Next we have a beautiful red Staffordshire Bull Terrier called Rosie. Unless she's been naughty, then she's Rosemary. Rosie loves running on the beach, but the poor thing is scared of dolphins. And finally, last but not least, how could we possibly leave her out? The Utah superstar, Captain Yewy. Yewy is a 10-year-old Welsh Terrier. She loves belly scratches, she loves duck fillets, and she hates a lot of things. She hates doing what she's told, she hates the vacuum cleaner, she hates marineros, she hates our fenders. She's a character, but she'll be helping us out today. Quick disclaimer, I am filming this in the spring of 2025. Rules can and do change, so please make sure you do your own research. I am neither a vet nor a customs expert. Now, before you leave the UK to sail your dog into the EU, you are going to need 3 things. You're going to need a microchip, you're going to need a rabies vaccination, and an animal health certificate. Step 1, make sure your dog has been microchipped. This is usually done when your dog's a puppy, so consult your vet and find out the number. Step 2, arrange for a rabies vaccination. This needs to be done at least 21 days before you obtain your animal health certificate. Then step 3, you're going to need that animal health certificate to be issued no more than 10 days before you arrive in the EU. So Yewy got her rabies vaccination when we were still in Newcastle. That cost us £80. We then sailed down the east coast to Ramsgate, where we had a mobile vet come and visit us at the boat to issue her animal health certificate. That cost us £180. The animal health certificate is valid for a single trip to the EU for up to 4 months. But as Yewy, Reggie and Rosie weren't planning on going back to the UK anytime soon, we got pet passports issued while we were travelling. More on that later. Now, whilst you can take your dog into the EU by private vessel, you can't take them back to the UK by private vessel. If you are taking your dog back to the UK, you're going to either need to take them via the tunnel or on an approved ferry. If you're sailing to the Channel Islands and you're going direct from the UK mainland, you can take your dog by private vessel. But if you've gone into France first, then you can't. Hence our video, banned from the Channel Islands. Now, Rosie actually needed some extra paperwork. Because Rosie's a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, and Staffordshire Terriers are considered a Category 1 attack dog in France, she needed her pedigree papers to prove that she was a Staffordshire Bull Terrier and not a banned breed such as the Staffordshire Terrier or Pit Bull Terrier. Once on the water, keeping your dog safe and comfortable becomes top priority. One of the first things we did when we bought Reach Out was install netting over as much of the guardrail, push pit and pull pit as possible. That means that when we're on anchor or we're moored up somewhere, Yewy can roam around the decks. The same goes for Rosie. On her boat they have netting and Rosie is allowed to wander when they're in harbour or on anchor. Now, under passage, we actually tether Yewy into the cockpit. She normally just wears her harness, and then we clip her from her harness around some of the stainless steel under the spray hood. And she's generally completely fine with that. It just means that she can't jump out and go wandering whilst we're sailing. But most of the time, she sits on our knee and she loves it. She gets belly scratches for a lot of the journey. For her life jacket, she usually only wears that in the dinghy, which she loves. She didn't like having her life jacket when we first bought it, but now she associates the life jacket with the dinghy. She loves rides in the dinghy, so she's more than happy to put that on. Now, Reggie is a good boy and he wears his life jacket all the time under passage, just like the rest of his crew. He gets tethered on during docking or if there's particularly rough weather. Rough, get it. And as for Rosie, Rosie's a very calm girl. She doesn't need to be tethered and she doesn't need to wear her life jacket. They have a centre cockpit and they feel that she's very safe in that position. She doesn't go wandering while they're sailing. I believe she also wears her life jacket in the dinghy. Good girl. One of the questions we get asked the most about is toilet time. I'm sat at the bow of the boat, and in the bow locker, along with the anchor chain and along with some of the fenders, is Yewy's artificial grass. We bought that before leaving the UK and before sailing around the UK the season before. We put it in the backyard and we just waited until Yewy used it for the first time. At first she was like a bit like, why is this grass in the backyard? What's that for? But when she weed on it the first time, she got her favourite treat, lots of encouragement, and then never looked back. You kind of love the stinky mat now. So under passage, I will bring Yewy to the bow. She's either clipped onto me or she's clipped onto the jackstays. And once she's done her business, she will try to race back to the cockpit because Rob is usually waiting with her favourite treat. And here's a video of us doing that just last week while we were sailing in Spain. Right, we've been on the way for about maybe 4 hours now, 4.5 hours, so it's time to take Yewy to the bow. So I'll go up by myself first and get the fenders out of the bow locker, get her grass set up, and then I'll come back for her. And then Yewy gets tethered to me because it's a bit bouncy today. If it's really bouncy, we have the jackstays on, and then she gets tethered to the jackstays rather than to me. And if it's totally flat, sometimes she's okay just going up and down by herself. We're just going to wait for this vessel to go past just in case we get some extra bouncies, and then we'll get that down there. This is the first time she's used the grass this season. So exciting. I wonder if she'll be like, yay, my grass! She does like her grass. She thinks it stinks.
Well, she will once she gets a duck fillet, which she knows is in the cockpit.
Yes. Good girl. You got over? You know what to do. You know what to do. Good girl. Yay. Follow me.
Yeah, because she knows what's coming. Who's a good girl?
Hi, Weed. Give me the treat. Give me the treat.
Who's a good girl, Yewy?
You are. Yeah.
Oh. Yewy. Yum, yum.
Alright, then I detangle myself from Yewy and go tidy up.
That was instant.
Yeah, she knew straight away.
Yeah.
Rosie, just like Yewy, was a bit hesitant with her grass at first, but now is very comfortable using it, and she can go either bow or stern. Reggie's not really a fan of the grass. He prefers to just toddle up to the bow and do his business, but his crew are going to keep trying him with the grass, or maybe get a little post for him. Our top tip is basically start early and don't stress. once your dog goes the first time, they're going to know that it's okay to go on board, and then life gets that little bit more easy. Now, before I finish the toilet section, I just want to say we only take our dog to the artificial grass or up to the bow if we're on a long passage or it's for a late night wee when we're on anchor. The rest of the time, if we're on harbour or if it's a shortish passage, we always take our dogs for a nice walk before we head out, a nice walk in the evening as well. Our dogs get 2 or 3 walks a day. Just like humans, you're going to have to be careful with sun and heat exposure. Make sure your dog always has shade and plenty of fresh water. We try and get Yewy positioned in the cockpit so that she's got shade and a bit of a breeze where possible. She loves eating ice cubes, and we sometimes put damp cloths in the freezer, and then we can rub those over her, or she can lie on them when it's getting hot. And a serious hazard to be aware of in southern Spain and Portugal are these pine processionary caterpillars. These hairy little critters are active in the springtime and are extremely dangerous to dogs. Sniffing or licking them can result in extreme allergic reactions, which can even be fatal. When we arrived in France, no one even looked at Yewy's animal health certificate. When we went to customs to get ourselves stamped in, they just weren't interested in Yewy's paperwork. They basically said to us, "We have dogs in France, go and enjoy France." So we did. In fact, on our entire season that year, no one once asked to see Yewy's paperwork. And the same goes for Rosie. When they crossed over to Brest and arrived in France there, no one really cared. Rosie's owners did manage to get a date stamp on their paperwork, but that was it. Now, Reggie must look a bit more suspicious because he got checked in Roscoff and again in Gibraltar. I was actually really shocked at how little information there is out there about what happens once the animal health certificate expires, i.e. if you're staying in Europe more than 4 months. Because we had the long stay visa for France, I reached out to the Gibraltarian authorities and asked what happens if we arrive in Gibraltar with an expired animal health certificate, but we can still prove that Yewy has had her rabies vaccine, and so on. They never replied. So after a failed attempt at getting a pet passport in France, seriously, do not bother. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of money. We got Yewy a pet passport issued in Portugal, which makes Yewy an official Portuguese pooch. Mwah. She supports Porto and she answers to the name Granaldo. Gibraltar is still part of the pet travel scheme, so Reggie and Rosie waited until they were in Gibraltar to get their pet passports. They also got their rabies boosters done there and rabies antibody tests done there, and obtained dog licenses for while they were in Gibraltar. I again reached out to the Gibraltarian authorities to ask if dogs that are in transit need a dog license or if it's just for residents. They didn't reply, so we didn't bother. We actually chose to get Yewy's rabies booster, annual vaccinations and rabies antibody test done over the border in La Linea. Her annual vaccinations cost €20, so much cheaper than the UK. Her rabies booster cost €20, again, so cheap, and her rabies antibody test cost us €120. And in case you're wondering, the rabies antibody test basically shows that Yewy's rabies vaccinations have worked and that she's producing antibodies to fight rabies. This means if we end up sailing to somewhere like Morocco or Tunisia or some other non-EU countries, it means that we're allowed to bring Yewy back into the EU. That test or that certificate is valid for as long as you keep those rabies vaccinations in date. If you lapse by a single day, that certificate is no longer valid. Quick pause before we dive into what each country was like for our dogs. If you're finding this video useful and want to buy us a coffee or a beer, you can head to buymeacoffee.com/sailinghiem, and we promise Yewy sends a video reply to everyone who donates. All three dogs thought that France was just a dream. It was so dog friendly. Dogs were allowed in bars and in restaurants, even some high-end restaurants. We took Yewy into the marina offices with us. She was allowed on public transport. Some beaches were dog friendly, others were not. Although the non-dog friendly beaches, the French just ignored it anyway. Loads of green spaces, lots of parks for your dogs to enjoy. Basically, the French have really nice dog etiquette as well. If their dog is off leash and your dog is on leash, they will leash their dog when you're going past. And yeah, basically they just love dogs. They were always coming up to us to chat about Yewy. They thought it was amazing that she lived on a boat. They wanted to know what breed she was, how old she was. Basically, the French love dogs. Spain was a little bit more mixed. Yewy couldn't go inside some restaurants, but they always made room for her outside. And to be honest, the weather's been so nice, you want to sit outdoors anyway. A couple of restaurants where she was allowed in, the staff made a fuss of her. Some of them even brought her own little tapas to go with her water bowl, which was so nice. Again, same as France, some of the beaches are not dog friendly, but some people just ignore it anyway. Depends how comfortable you are with rule breaking. What else? Public transport was also a little bit mixed. We found that we couldn't take Yewy on buses unless she's in a proper carrier. We managed to have her on the train in Malaga with no issues, and she was allowed on the Ayamonte ferry, which goes back and forth across the border into Portugal. Portugal was very much the same as Spain, very chilled. We could always find restaurants where we could sit outside with Yewy, beaches, parks, public squares, lots of space for her to run around as well. We also found that Yewy was allowed on trains in Portugal, but she did have to be muzzled and she had to pay a child's fare. And then Gibraltar. Let's just say it's not the most dog-friendly of places. In fact, there are signs banning dogs from pretty much every open and green space. Yewy, do you think you can sum up Gibraltar in 6 seconds or less? Okay, go for it. Sailing with a dog is a huge adventure, but one of the biggest challenges I found was getting her to shore after a long passage when you just want to go to bed or have your dinner. Imagine a really long sail and then you drop the anchor, drags a few times, you finally get it set, and then you want to go to bed, but you need to launch the dinghy, you need to get the outboard set up, you need to get the life jacket on, get your dog to shore, they want to sniff everything. But we do it because we love our pooches. Now, although Rosie is a very calm dog under passage, she is very high energy once in port, and Rosie's crew found one of the most challenging parts of their voyage was finding open spaces and dog-friendly beaches for her to enjoy and therefore manage that energy that she has. Reggie's crew said the thing that he struggled the most with was long passages, especially their Biscay crossing, which was a bit rough and a bit overstimulating. Apparently he needed an entire day just to recover, but the same went for his crew as well. So these are our top tips. Start training early, especially for toilet routines on deck. Safety first, get life jackets and netting, and always find ways to keep your pooch cool and shaded under passage. Bring your dog's favourite food. You might not find it abroad, and it's okay to have it as long as you keep it on the boat.
Introduce the boat gently, short sails, calm days, and lots of encouragement. Our most important tip? Don't stress. Dogs are amazing at adapting, often faster than we are.
So would we do it again? Absolutely. Our dogs are an important part of the crew and we wouldn't have it any other way. They keep us active, they give us cuddles on the hard days, and they make us stop and make sure that we appreciate where we are. In other words, you gotta stop and smell the wee-wee. Yes, they might bark at dolphins and jet skis, or in Yewy's case, our own fenders, but it's all part of the magic of sailing with dogs.
Thanks for watching. If this video made you feel more confident about bringing your dog with you to the Mediterranean, you can say thanks at buymeacoffee.com/sailinghere. In the meantime, sailors, like, comment, share and subscribe. And as always, my salty sea dogs, fair winds.